Welcome to Money Hangout. We bring you this weekly interaction. We try to help you understand investment and savings issues every week. This is brought to you by, with help of Birla Sun Life and Value Research. Uh, Last week, as I told you, that we will talk about the risks of equity investing and or investments in equity, and this is the question which most people have or ask. But something significant happened during the week. Last week, not yeah, on Tuesday, our Prime Minister just came on TV at 8 o'clock to say that 500 and 1,000 rupee denomination currency will be will not be a legal tender, will not be an acceptable legal tender. And we had this. It did really cause panic. It really did cause anxiety. And the way to overcome is that we have to queue up at the bank, exchange our 4,000 rupees. We can deposit up to 2,500 rupees, 2,50,000 rupees in our bank account if we have withdrawn such money from our bank. People who have bank account, they can deposit up to that much, withdraw 4,000 rupees a day with a weekly limit. So we see suddenly that we have money, but we can't buy stuff. Last week, I raided my children's piggy bank and got a big collection of the coins. Here it is. So this, so our savings came in very handy. We never knew that we will have to lay our hands on this saving to make our day-to-day essential purchases. Of course, we have not been able to put to good use. Not too many people are interested in this loose change, but yes, it did come in handy, and this is quite a sizable amount. Some 1,800 rupees. But that apart, the daily struggle for the common person to queue up at the bank and exchange his currency, or struggling to get money out of our ATMs. While in our office, while coming to our office, we have a couple of banks here, and we have to really pass through very crowded lanes here to reach. So the pain is, this is something which has affected every citizen of this country, at least in the larger cities. And so there are a lot of, and now I'll explain. A lot of people are in difficulty to manage their day-to-day expenses, and I think it's a matter of few days that we will overcome this problem. A lot of businesses have been frozen. A lot of businesses are unable to source things because the currency, the demonetized currency is the exchange of was the medium of exchange. So people are unable to buy and sell stuff. But this will be overcome in some time. I'm here to just think harder, or think louder about some of the long-term implication, short-term implication on few dimensions. This is perhaps one of the biggest economic action by the government, which might prove to be a turning point for our country. The result of this is that there are, if I look at it in very tangible terms, for individuals, it is going to have an immediate impact on few things. One is that the interest rates will come down. Banks are flush with funds. The way this 13, 14 lakh crore rupees will find it, a good part of it will find its way into bank, and the way it will gradually, even if it has to move out of the bank, it will gradually move out. And we will see an era of digital. We will not the phase of cash transaction, or I would say that illegitimate business activity. Legitimate business activities, because they don't pay taxes, they become illegitimate, or the earnings from that. And that had led to a large parallel economy that will definitely be on a steady decline. People will just not find it worthwhile. Because today, so far, there was never a penalization, there was never a penalty for those people who function that way. You can conduct a business. I was just talking to a person, a pan vendor here. He sells gutka, and in my neighborhood, I know some of the gutka manufacturers. The big flow is that substantial part of the business, the sourcing is done in cash. The money spent by way of salaries and packaging and other things can also be made in cash. The goods are sold in cash at retail cigarette and pan vendors, by retail cigarette and pan vendors, and most of the money finds its way back to the owner in cash. and that cash finds its way into buying a lot of properties. And buying big properties with a lot of cash was an easy thing. Now this thing will get stuck because today that was the final destination of assets getting created by way of this activity. That will be disrupted. This is definitely going to be disrupted, and that is going to be huge benefit for the individuals, because in all big cities it has become a dream for any successful person. Even if you work hard, do well, succeed, earn well, you can't buy a house. That might become a possibility. That apart, I think a lot of businesses will be forced to become legitimate. Today we have two kind of businesses: the illegitimate ones, the ones which are able to grapple with handling cash, and the others which are not. The ones which are not are at a competitive disadvantage. They lack the flexibility. They lack also sometimes they lack the speed, and sometimes they just can't compete with a lot of the informal ways of conducting business. This will translate into something even more significant: the legitimacy of a lot of businesses becoming legitimate or legitimate in their conduct will prepare them for being scalable. Today, the owner has to sit there because he has to handle cash. Tomorrow, when businesses will organize themselves so that they can be scaled up and they will become legitimate, then they will be ready to be scaled up. And I think a lot of these entrepreneurs who waste their time handling this cash, managing this cash, deployment of the cash, they will not find it worthwhile. So I think I'm still looking at the bright spot of this whole action. Of course, this is going to be a short-term disruption. A lot of businesses employ large number of people, and they will be under stress because those businesses will face hardship, and that is going to really see a lot of people in our surroundings who will face the great difficulty. They might lose their jobs. A lot of production facilities might come down. But on the other hand, a lot of businesses will get organized, they will scale up, and they will employ a lot of other people. In the process, in this transition, a lot of people might get hurt permanently. But from an individual point, for a legitimate individual who gets up in the morning, works hard, earns money, and earns money which gets credited in his bank account, and he pays taxes. Of course, tax for a salaried person is deducted at source, so he doesn't have a choice. I think he will be living at peace. One more thing, which the economics of investment, the economics of deploying your surplus, is going to see a big transformation. So far, it was possible for people to deploy their cash, the untaxed paid, non-tax paid money productively. It will become difficult. Not only it will become difficult, the other side of the story, that if you have 100 rupees on which you haven't paid taxes, and if you have 100 rupees on which you have paid taxes, and it becomes 70 rupees, that will multiply. You will be at liberty to invest that in the way and the manner in which you want to, and you will be able to multiply it faster, efficiently. You will have the flexibility, and you will sleep nicely. You'll sleep well without any worries, and that I think is so people will realize that it is simply more profitable to legitimize themselves. Of course, a lot of people are complaining that this is not going to solve the black money problem. No single action can ever solve any problem. But I think this is a big shift forward, in the sense that somebody who was doing entirely cash will start doing some legitimate business. Somebody who was doing partially cash, partially illegitimate activity, on which he won't pay taxes, they will start, increasingly working towards making it all legitimate. The people who are doing some marginal such activity, because it is not in absolute terms. A lot of people start as an entrepreneur, start small, then they don't pay tax, and on a small scale it is possible to do that, but suddenly they turn big, or gradually they turn big, and they don't know how to change track. And once they don't know how to change track, and the way they have conducted in the past, it becomes a habit, and today that habit is turning out to be a disaster. Today that habit is turning out to be a disaster of a proportion, entirely depending on your scale of success. If you were hugely successful, you are a huge disaster today, and people will take lesson from this. And this is not the end of it. Today we have come across a political leadership which is committed to doing something, or they can go to any length to make something happen. So this may not be the end of it. I think we are playing a game. Yeah, it's not worthwhile playing the game of trying to circumvent the law in manner. Of course, everybody will work very hard to convert their accumulated large cash into something with worthwhile, but it will not be easy. It will come with a lot of pain, and this is going to be one of the biggest trigger point for people to change. Uh, how does it affect individuals, people like us? In many ways. One is that we can feel happy that our stuff is all right. We can sleep well. The only problem is that for a couple of days we might have some problem. Just not having enough cash to buy something essential, but we will be quickly be overcoming that. That part. Buying a house in a lifetime will become a reality for most common people, common investors. That is definitely an aspiration. It will not only become affordable, and I would say that don't rush your home buying decision. Don't get into this rut of the mess of pulling out cash from your legitimate account to pay in cash. Don't get into that. I think those days are numbered. You'll be able to buy and have the patience, because my sense is that it is going to be a patience game. Have your own formula of the price at which you will buy. If you are, and I would say that have a very simple formula. If the rent that you are paying, it must, the house price of a house should be 4% of its rental yield. So if you are living in a house, or if you want a house which will cost you say 25,000 rupees a month, which means you'll be paying an annual 3 lakh rupees by way of rent. And if this is going to be 4% of your, so the capital value should be in this proportion. The house for which you are paying 3 lakh rupees by way of rent should not cost more than 1.2 crore rupees. And if you fit in this framework, you will be well off. Have patience, you'll be able to buy it. Just a matter of time, maybe wait for a little longer. And it is very important to have this formula. Be little flexible about this formula a little bit. Maybe this ratio, this real yield can go down to 3%, but don't budge. But have this mental framework. If you don't have this, you are likely to get guzzled into this emotional blackmailing that you need a house and you have to pay for it somehow, and whatever it takes. That I think is a bad idea, because you have to look at it in a very hard-nosed economic. You have to take a hard-nosed economic decision. Then comes what happens to our stock market. This can potentially trigger a decade-long, bull run, because a lot of businesses will get created. Businesses which are organized to scale up, they will benefit substantially, and the economy will thrive. It will generate employment. It will create the purchasing power. I'm not referring to the short-term crisis that we might have in hand. Maybe next 3 months, next 6 months, we will see a disruption. But beyond that, I think it is going to be a long-term. This could be the start of real India rising. So I wish you very best. Don't get derailed from your systematic investment, from your methodical investment plan that you have. Carry on with your plan. Don't get distracted. Stay calm. Overcome your immediate crisis, and try and invest as much as possible. I think that times of crisis will create a lot of turbulence. We will see 500 points up and down on many days in the coming months. This will create great opportunity. If you're investing 10% of your income, or if you're investing 90% of your savings, try and save more and invest 110% of your current savings. If you can do that, you will have huge rewards your way, and I think this is a historic opportunity for our market, for our economy, for the country. And when I'm looking at the social aspect, it could be awe-inspiring. This is once in a lifetime opportunity for us to be investing for the long term in the market. Don't get distracted. Don't get unnerved by the big upheavals we are witnessing every day.